Hello and welcome to TALRadio. At TAL, we connect those who are willing to give to those who are in need. Well, it's certainly a beautiful weather all across the globe, and me and Andrew, we were just chatting about it. So let me just give a little bit brief about Andrew. Andrew is a self-coaching expert, and we are doing this wonderful series on self-coaching, and he's actually coached hundreds of leaders across the globe. So Andrew, welcome to TALRadio.
Thank you, Sandy. It's lovely to be here again.
Lovely. Thanks a ton for your time. And so, from resilience, I think this week we would be moving forward with a very wonderful topic and something that everybody can relate to, that is mental fitness. I mean, how do we define mental health and fitness, especially with respect to self coaching? So, taking forward this particular podcast of, at TALRadio, so I think it's something that I would really want to know and would love that you throw some light on this. It's like, what exactly is mental fitness, and how does it really differ from mental health?
Really, really good question. So let's get an analogy first. So if we think about personal fitness around health, so let's just think about that generally. So the way we'd think about that is that we're doing positive things to maintain healthy bodies. And that's obviously to do with nutrition, to do with sleep, to do with fitness, to do with how we're sat and stood in a day. So all of those things we're very familiar with. However, when we look at mental fitness, it's basically what's going on in our heads and how do we proactively manage that on a daily basis. So that's what I want to talk about and how it differs from mental health. So mental fitness is all about our ability every single minute of the day to make sure that in terms of the way we're thinking about things is in the most positive way possible, so that everything that we see can be turned into a positive, can be turned into a gift rather than a negative thought. So that's the ability to really practice mental fitness, and we'll talk about the details later. Mental health, I guess, is a phrase that's used a lot now about the state of being of one's mental fitness. And what we tend to have this as a negative context, where we say we are worried about somebody's mental health because either they're not functioning properly in terms of the way they're thinking. It may be that they don't have the capacity to think, properly in terms of the way that they're thinking. And therefore, in the workplace, it becomes very much more almost there's something wrong with somebody if they've got poor mental health. So what today we're talking about is building on resilience, and mental fitness is a proactive, regular daily practice to minimize the chances of having poor mental health over time. And that's the way to distinguish it.
All right. So when we talk about everyday's life, why is mental fitness, a very important aspect of our life? I mean, we are saying everybody is almost there in the world, but specifically if we talk about mental fitness, why is it so important part of our life?
Well, today it's all talking about positivity. So there are going to be some people listening to this and watching this where they're not feeling particularly positive at the moment, but there is so much evidence now to suggest through research that's been done over many decades that if we are in a positive mindset and have this positive mental fitness, it means we have the capacity to do more things. And therefore, in terms of why it's important, it means that when we actually come across challenges that come across us every single day in terms of tasks and relationships, if we are feeling positive about ourselves and our life, it means we're probably going to encounter those particular challenges in a much more effective way than when we're feeling negative. And we'll come on to that later about how that manifests. So there's a whole field here which people can go and look up, which is all about positive psychology. And positive psychology is all about the health benefits, the physical benefits, the mental benefits of us feeling positively most of the time and why that actually helps us.
So, something that really intrigued me on this particular topic is like we do, encounter people, we do come across people, colleagues or, in our relationships also. They appear to be so well sane, I would say well groomed, very happy-go-lucky type of people, living life larger, king size, I would say. But do we realize that they are also mentally fatigued sometime, or are they going through, certain kind of trauma, certain kind of things in their life, but it's a certain thing that it's not reflective so much in their personal life as such?
It is, and again, it depends. It's their link. So our physical fitness is linked to our mental fitness, and this builds on the resilience we talked about last time. So even if I am someone that's generally positive, if I am feeling tired, or maybe I've been drinking too much alcohol, or I've been doing something to my body which doesn't actually help me, the chances are that fatigue will affect my ability to think positively mentally. So there are links here, but coming back, the mental fitness is the thing that allows us to see things around us in a very different light. So I'll take a very brief example. Christopher Reeve, who some people will remember was the original Superman in the Superman films, and he was a very successful actor. And unfortunately, Christopher Reeve had a very serious accident. He fell off his horse. He was a keen horse rider. And when he fell off his horse, he had a very serious injury, which left him a paraplegic. And he couldn't, walk again. He was in a wheelchair for the rest of his life and, had a very, very difficult life. However, he could have actually been a victim to that and felt very negative about that for the rest of his life until he died. But what he did soon after he actually had the accident was he was immediately thinking, how can this situation that's happened to me and the fame I have and the celebrity status I have to help other people who are in a very similar situation to me to live the most fulfilling life they can? And this was an individual who had almost, in other people's eyes, nothing to live for in that sense. So it all came down to his mental fitness and ability to see a gift in every single situation. And that became his life. And if you now look at the Christopher Reeve Foundation and everything that his family is still doing now after he's gone, it's incredible. So that's an extreme example, but there are many examples every single day how you and I can actually just see things positively and see the gift in the situation.
Lovely. Thanks a ton for that example. And I'm sure people can relate to it. And moving on, when we talk about self-coaching, so, in context to self-coaching, is there a correlation between a mental health, mental fitness, mental health, and self-coaching as such?
There is. So let's take mental health first. So from a self-coaching perspective, what we can do is raise our awareness when we don't think that our mental health is where it needs to be. So that's whether we are feeling sad, feeling depressed, feeling unhealthy. There's just something not right. And maybe our relationships are not where they need to be. There's just something that doesn't feel right. And we all know that. So we've raised our awareness about that. And then what we can do through self-coaching and also support from others around us is start to change the way that we're thinking about those things. So practicing our muscle around mental fitness to start to think more positively. So I'll give you some examples about how we can do this. It is very hard, but it's the way we can coach ourselves. So let's take a situation where maybe I was supposed to go to an event tomorrow. I've had a last minute call today. I was looking forward to it. And they've told me that unfortunately the event has been postponed and I won't have the opportunity to do what I wanted to do there. Now, I could actually start to feel very negative about that, which will affect my mental health about the what if. I'm feeling very disappointed about that. Or I can actually start to feel some positive thoughts. I can start to empathize with myself and be kind to myself about the fact that maybe it's a blessing. Maybe now I can actually do something different with the time and start to view it differently. There'll always be another opportunity to go and do this again. The second is actually then explore. So be curious, explore what's possible now. Now this isn't happening. Let me move myself into exploration mode about what I can do with the time I've got back. The third is to actually start to think in an innovative way. What's the way I can really use the time now in something that's really creative and something will help me for when the event comes up again next time? The fourth way is actually saying, okay, now I know all of that. How can I actually take a step forward in terms of the space that's there to do something really valuable and creative? And then the fifth is actually making sure I can activate and do it and not hold myself back through negative thoughts. So there are many things, and this is what Shirzad Chamine talks about in his book called Positive Intelligence. And he calls those 5 things I've just related to there the sage powers. We have this ability as human beings to be sage-like, to be wise in the events of very negative things that are happening to us, and to actually see the outcomes and the gifts that are there for us. So they're the ways that self-coaching can help us. It's a muscle we have to build, but it's very difficult to move out of the negative thoughts in the first place. And it's only through practice that we can do that.
All right. So when we talk about mental fitness, what are the common myths around it, related to mental fitness? Are there any?
There are a lot of people who study mental fitness and try to practice it. They tend to think it's more difficult than it is. So they think, well, for me to be in that frame of mind, I've got to try really hard and it's exhausting and, I'm bound to feel negative at some point. And actually other people bring me into their negativity. So a lot of people think it's harder than it is. And all it is actually in the moment right now, recognizing that you and I have a choice. We can either feel negative in this moment or we can feel positive and actually start to think differently. We have that choice as human beings. It's very, very sometimes difficult for people to relate to if they've been feeling negative for a long time. But in terms of the ease of doing that, just to shift our thinking, it's easier than people think it is. That's one myth. And the second is that we need a coach to help us with this. We don't. We just need friends around us. We need people that we gain energy from, relationships where we feel really energized and motivated. And just being in the presence of somebody like that can actually help us to practice mental fitness, as opposed to being, all these people know that are listening to this, with those friends we should have let go years ago, where they just make us feel so negative. They're drains. They're not energizers, they're drains. They just drain the energy out of us. But we have choices about who we spend time in relationship. So there are a couple of the myths that come up, but people can practice this every day if they really just put their mind to it and see the gift in every situation.
Andrew, you just put a smile on my face when you especially mentioned that it is easier than what people really think. To achieve mental fitness, it's not that a difficult task in life, but we think it's, we have to do this, we have to do that. But technically, we don't have to do anything. We just have to live in the present.
We do. We choose everything we do. We choose.
Lovely. Talking about mental fitness, are there certain kind of daily habits or practices, that people can really follow in a regular life, on a regular day as such, that can improve mental fitness?
Absolutely. So there's a really lovely technique, which I can teach everyone now, which is really easy for people to practice. It's not very nice sometimes to think about this, because we recognize how many negative thoughts we have in a day. But it's a really good practice. So the first thing to do for everybody is just to keep a note on your phone or a piece of paper or a notebook in your pocket, whatever it is, how many times you have a negative thought. So I'm having a negative thought now, I'm going to make a note. Negative thought now, make a note. And just become aware about how many negative thoughts you have in a day. It's a lot. And be kind to ourselves. It's normal for us to have, we're human beings, we have these negative thoughts. The second thing then we do is, once we've made a note of those things, is start to think about what the negative thoughts really are. And what tends to be the case is that when we're feeling negative, we tend to be judging one of three things. The first is we're either judging ourselves. So we're feeling negative about ourselves. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I don't know why I'm making this mistake again. So we're being very self-critical. So that's the first thing we notice. The second is we're judging other people. So you're not good enough. Why have they done that again? I can't believe they've made the mistake. I've got to do all this work again. They've let me down. So we're judging other people. That's the second way that we're feeling negative. And then the third way is where we have this kind of victim mentality, is it's not fair. I can't believe my situation. It's the environment that we're judging. The weather's bad. I can't believe COVID happened. I can't believe that the investor's doing this, whatever it is. So if we know that once we're feeling negative, we're actually thinking in one of those three ways, judging, it means we've got to take action to move into the mental positive state. And the way we do that, we may have mentioned this in another podcast a few weeks ago, very simply, is to become present in the moment. All you need to do is rub your finger and thumb together so you can notice the ridges and really feel the ridges on your fingers. We've all got them, all unique. Maybe rub the nail with your finger so you actually feel it in the moment. And when we're feeling negative and in one of those judgment modes, just doing this means we're in the present moment. We can't be in judging mode in that moment because we're present, focusing on our finger and thumb. And in that moment, we have that choice to either stay in the negativity and how that serves us, or move into the positivity about what the opportunity is in front of us right now. And that's the practice every single day. Awareness, judging and knowing what we're judging, being aware of that, and then recognizing through presence, we can move into a different state of being. So that's, everyone can do that. It's not easy to do, but becoming aware is the first step.
Lovely. Becoming aware is the first step. And talking about awareness, I think I would like to move a little step forward and let's talk about, physical fitness. So is physical fitness related to mental fitness?
It is, and there's lots of evidence now to prove that if you are not physically fit, it's very difficult for you to be mentally fit. So physical fitness serves mental fitness, and mental fitness obviously is an attitude towards physical fitness. So if we are feeling that we have the right level of hydration, if we feel that we're getting the right amount of sleep, that we're eating the right kind of foods, that we're doing the right kind of exercise that our body needs, it means that we're in a space then where our mind can be energized to actually think positively in that sense. So they are definitely linked. There's lots of evidence now to prove this. And likewise, if we have a negative mental state, it means it's more likely that we're not going to do the right things to look after our health. And therefore, it's a vicious circle that goes round and round and round and round. So, yeah, there's lots of links between the two.
All right. And, from physical fitness, something that I would really like to focus upon is today's lifestyle, smartphones. Unnecessary, I don't want to use the word, but unnecessary demon in everybody's life. So I just wanted to understand, how does this, the whole social uprising that has happened, in the last decade, how does it really affect our mental fitness? Because everybody is talking about it.
It does. So this is a really interesting topic. If we say that mental fitness and our ability to practice it and be it is all about a proactivity, it's all about us thinking positively and having the space to think proactively. The problem with social media and phones, particularly for the younger generation that's coming through, is there are distractions to take us away from that proactivity. So what we're doing is we're reacting. We're not actually being proactive. And therefore, we see this a lot now. I've stopped watching the news because the problem with the news, whether it's on your phone or whether it's on the television, is it's usually reporting bad things. It's bad things that are happening. There are very few good news stories in the news. So when we're seeing this on our reel, and although some people can see cats chasing their tail on reels, there's a lot of negativity out there as well in terms of social media. And we're presenting ourselves to that with a reel that comes down and we're not in control of it and we're just consuming it. And that creates a negative energy. So it's the combination of distraction in the first place to take us away from being proactive. And secondly, the negative thoughts that can be generated by us comparing ourselves to other people, by us hearing news that we don't necessarily feel energizes us. And it all then detracts from the positive mental attitude.
All right. So now that is one aspect of mental fitness. But for example, there's somebody who's going through a lot of things in life and they're just trying to collect themselves all over once again and start everything. So that way their mental fitness is actually increasing. Are there any particular signs that, you are having a healthy mental fitness? Like when we know when something is not good with us. But if something is good with us, are there any particular signs about it?
Yeah, and there are two things to think about here. The first thing is to actually get feedback from people around you. So the first thing that you will notice is how people are with you in relationship. So it's the way they're being with you. It's how they interact with you. And if you are in a very good state of mental fitness, it usually means the people around you are very calm because they're being affected by your presence. They feel comfortable in your presence. They feel more positive in your presence. And so that's a way to work out and understand whether that's working for you, how people react around you. But it also is about how you show up in relationships can give you a good indication of mental fitness. So I'll give you an example, and this is pertinent to me. My wife was telling me the other day that she'd noticed that in the last 6 months in particular, she can't remember me raising my voice or becoming angry about anything. And I used to get very angry about things. I was very impatient. And that's one indication about having positive mental fitness, because it means that whatever happens around me, I don't need to get angry because I can actually see there's a positive outcome to whatever's happening around me. So having that positive attitude. So it's about how it feels within. So I feel calm. I feel at peace. I feel as though whatever happens is going to happen and it's going to be okay. So there's this sense of self-assurance, if you like, and self-confidence. And I know that I've got enough ability to be able to deal with all the things that come for me. So there's this kind of self-assuredness about people who have this positive mental fitness. And it means that we're not judging people as much. I don't have as many of those feelings about feeling negative about other people or the environment. So you can definitely tell, and it's a nice place to be. But I've worked really hard on it for the last 3 years, and I didn't used to be like that.
Yeah, especially, when you mentioned that your wife said it, well, now that says all.
It does.
All right. So on this wonderful note, I'm just going to wrap up this wonderful segment. But before I let you go, I have a wonderful question, and I really wanted to close this on a very happy note. Like, if somebody just wants to start today, right now, after listening to this very episode, that one small technique, what would that be? And that particular advice that you would like to give it to somebody who wants to work on mental fitness.
So if somebody wants to work on this, a very easy technique to start is, particularly if you're on your own, is when you're feeling negative and you're noticing that you're judging, or one of those three ways that we talked about, is to actually just start to visualize and think about your happy place. So that might be your favorite holiday destination. It might be your favorite place to walk. It might be the favorite person that you like to be with. And just visualize yourself in that place and start to notice the feelings that come up for you in that place. And that in itself enables you to start to become aware of how that feels different to how you were feeling a few moments ago. And then change the energy, maybe get up out of the chair, walk to a different place, and just try and stay with that. So that's what I would say. Try and do that. Sometimes it's easy to do that with somebody else. You can actually start talking about, remember the time that we went to this place and did that, and you're really reconnecting with those memories and those smells and those sights and those sounds. So that's what I would say to people, visualize that, and that's the first step.
Lovely. So thanks a ton for joining us today on this wonderful podcast. And thanks a ton to our lovely audience who've been, with us for all this time. And we will be back with another yet episode, a beautiful episode and a very wonderful topic next week on TALRadio. Andrew, thank you so much for joining in. And before I let you go, let me know if our listeners want to connect with you. What is the easiest way?
Yeah, the best way is on LinkedIn. So just look up Andrew Tallents, Tallents. I'm the only one on LinkedIn. And secondly, you can go to andrewtallents.com where you can find all of the resources there.
And again, he's the only one there. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead.
Thanks, Sandy.